Right here, within these 4 pillars, this is where I'm gonna perform. And I'm performing my debut spoken word poetry project, Defiance Desperation. I'm doing some of the select poems here, and there's no other place I would rather have it than in my hometown in the city of Paterson, and at this place in particular, Paterson Museum. With the rich history of this town being not only the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution, but also station stop on the Underground Railroad. So I'm performing here in these 4 pillars, some of the pieces from my work, and I'm grateful to share it with you all. And I'm sharing this, Defiance and Desperation. You know, like with my first poem, Defiance, you know, it took me a minute to write it. I had a writer's block, and I couldn't write, and then I found myself going to Jersey City, and by the waterfront, and just the vibe and the energy, just the people around, it actually helped me be able to finish that, and it just was one of those poems that it just felt like, listen, if I'm like for this body of work, it has to kick off everything that it means. I come before you from the world's congregation, from the souls of folks in the margins of all nations, the throwaway people, the go-away people, who you abuse and exploit, the hoe-away people, the serfs and the slaves, who you work to the graves, whose blood is in the soil and the streets that they paved, whose pain you avoided with the lies you recorded, their hopes, their dreams, their lives you destroyed. You fed them the myths of things that don't exist. You said justice for all, but injustice persists. The heists and the schemes you did by any means, you surges of oppression and killers of the dream. And now is the time for all whom to rise. Freedom's march to the promised land, eyes on the prize. A true coalition against this prohibition on justice and equity. It all came from a decision to benefit the few at the expense of the many. From race to class, your isms are plenty. It's always been your mantra to divide and to conquer, because the fear in your heart gave birth to a monster. But all is not lost of our crops from this frost. We can save the gardens of humanity at will and at cost. As we stare into the abyss and stare into the mist, darkest days, finest hours, our power to resist. In order to save we, it begins and ends with me, myself, and I, you, and thee. The person in the mirror, seeing things clearer. Because salvation is for all of us, and it is nearer. To all of us in this universal trust, as we march in defiance in the duty of our themes, fist raised high as all the saints sing. Power to the people by any means. I had a dream, let freedom ring. Power to the people by any means. I had a dream, let freedom ring. Power to the people by any means. I had a dream, let freedom ring. Power to the people by any means. I had a dream, let freedom ring. One more time. Power to the people by any means. I had a dream, let freedom ring.
Throughout the text, you refer to an entity called you. Who is you in the text?
Great question. Yes, the you. The you is it's those systems and institutions at which we conduct our lives in, that we operate under, that even at times we are a part of, and whether we realize it or not. But that is, the you, because essentially what I'm saying is that all these things that we operate, conduct our lives in, it affects us, and we're in it some way, somehow. And if anything, the quest is to figure out how are we in it, and what can we do to make these institutions and these systems to actually work for the benefit of people and not marginalize them. Pandemic Report, is a poem actually that I wrote last year, when we was in the heart and the heat of the pandemic. And, one of the things that the pandemic did is that it exposed, not the other pandemics that we tend not to even, speak of, or, that we kind of know that people are experiencing, but, they haven't given much light. So it was just only fitting. I was inspired just from what we all were going through, because we all were affected by, the viral pandemic, but we're also affected by the other pandemics, that are more systemic. Behold, now the truth is unfold. You see the degrees of the disparities of the truths we told. See, we get the worst of the flu when the nation gets a cold. I know. He's playing the race card next. But you don't want to talk about how it got in the deck. Who shuffled the cards and who rigged the bets? Who said the game is checkers, but it really is chess? I guess it's the drug of deception, injected into the veins during this nation's inception, a fiend to the myth of the American exception, because it's the indifference to suffering and inequity connection. Wait, pause. I forgot about the law. It can uphold white supremacy for the plutocrats' cause, indenturing workers to corporate PAC's applause. Is it to serve and protect certain lives and not all? Hold still. Because see, this is how David Walker's appeal. We vote against policies that make justice unreal, facing the realities of what crisis reveals. Multiple pandemics, one viral and 3 systemic. There's no quick cures, but we want the anesthetics. See, our situation is ER, but we are the paramedics. It's in the foundation, the basis, the academics. It's in the fabrics and chemistries of institutions and industries. It's bona fide bigotry and social political symmetry. Bona fide bigotry and social political symmetry. Bona fide bigotry and social political symmetry. But the remedies for these cancers is not the for-profit answers. No symbolic measures, no kneeling, no half gestures. It's revolutionary policies like a social democracy and long-term investments at the expense of plutocracy, all against corruption and obstruction. The need, a new American reconstruction.
Yeah, you do an amazing job with rhyme scheme and restatement. The 2 pieces that we heard today does that restatement. Why and how are you choosing which things get the restatement places?
It's because sometimes I do feel like people may not, like for certain statements, they may not get it out the gate. So I feel like, what's the rule of, if you hear things multiple times, it'll start to stick. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I feel like it's just a feeling of like, okay, I feel like this is important. Mm-hmm. Like, and I even sometimes think that maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it just feels important. So I was like, I want to be able to just with certain things, just to like highlight it. Right. Yeah, I look at it as like a highlight or underlining it several times.
Afterwards, once you've digested that, and tell me the name of the next piece you're gonna do.
The next piece is entitled Powernomic Democracy.
So now, where's this title come from?
My poem Powernomic Democracy, is it's one of those poems that is dealing with economics, and it's just been inspired from my research into just exploring about economics, business, which is something that's vital to our community. We always talk about building wealth, generational wealth, and so I just wanted to put thoughts and ideas and perspectives that I got from reading books like Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics, and reading John Kavanaugh and Jerry Mander's Alternatives to Economic Globalization, where I learned about economic democracy, when I learned more about cooperatives and living democracy and protecting the commons, and just taking the ideas that reading from these authors, and my own personal thoughts and perspectives, about business and about better ways to do business, and even creating a better economic system. I believe personally that a better one is possible. Better ways to build wealth, to live forever and die free, spiritually, physically, mentally, and economically. But I'm gonna break that one down properly. Changing your frame. Going from knowledge to a wise dome, I mean changing your brain to a greater understanding of how to build wealth. Building for the family, community, and self. Collective participation for true powernomics. Being a prosumer with democracy and economics. Controlling your own materials and cultures. And the robbery of your capital from the claws of these vultures. You don't have to go at it alone. Don't be a loner. Everybody can't be a boss, but they can be an owner. Ownership in the assets in which your lives depend on. Stocks in the companies whose products you spend on. Settling scores with new business accords. Unionized labor co-chairing the boards. Workers' cooperatives, no plantation operatives or systems. No more dead peasant victims. See, this economy abandons us, subjects and strands us. So let's buy back the blocks with community land trusts, community gardens and community farms, food to the people to fix community harms. Let's explore UBI to level the inequities as long-term investments, not short-term discrepancies. Let's create family clubs of investments. It can be one of the ways of reparations assessments. But for all lanes of wealth, we must protect what life needs. Global sustainability, rejuvenation of seeds. Not for corporate greed, but for life itself to succeed. Because there's room for all of us, and all of us can achieve wealth.
It's really tight too. If you're thinking about a topic that you want to discuss with someone, but you don't really have the words, or they want to argue with you about it, one of the things that you can do is say, no, let's just read some Gillette, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
We are the solution, kind of brings all that home. Like, no matter what, all the problems that we may have on this planet, whether it be environmentally, whether it be socially, politically, economically, the fact of the matter is that we are the solution to all of it. If I'm not the key, then I'm the heart of my city. Trailblazing through streets where the mind culture's gritty. Savage apparatus, political malpractice, chasing that money just to reach that status. Money empower us, but love should empower us. Don't make it rain in the club. Glory should shower us, because hate will hire us. Peace will acquire us. Greed will pride in us, but freedom relies on us. It's freedom of jail, because we've been the victims of a corporate political cell, rotten to hell. But if it's freedom time, ring the Liberty Bell. Full focus, full scope, misknowledge and no hope. Brothers and sisters dying in society, hung by a rope. So what's the solution to the psychological prostitution? Brothers dying from senseless violence and street wars, or by forces of the law, or over powder and rocks, while brothers and sisters in Africa and Asia slaving for warlords, dictators, cartels, corporations, and mines and sweatshops. It's like hoax and vultures. It's a complete exploitation of the Afro-Asian and Latin cultures. Home of the brave, where land taken from the natives is built on the backs of slaves from cradle to grave, institutionalized inequality, and still tell us how to behave. And then you got the European and African atrocities. Ethnocide, menocide, democracy, hypocrisies, genocide, suicide, corporation monopolies, government settling in dispossession, killing women, children, and kin, using scientists, anthropologists, social scientists, and sociologists, and using soil scientists and foresters as a deforester and all our foresters, biologists being used as psychologists, geologists, all being used by economists with time minutes. It's time to wake up and stop all this violence. This animosity, bellicosity, and ferocity. Look, I'm also locked in this cell, but it's not stopping me, because I believe we can be who we want and what we dream. I say this to all congregations, to every single soul, and to every single nation. Imagine what we could be if we raised all of humanity. Because there's one life, one love, one truth, one family. We are the solution to all of it. I don't believe in utopia, but I believe a better world is possible. That's why this last piece is entitled, We Are the Solution, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we are.